Well, welcome back to the podcast. The Depth Perception team is here, and we got a great topic for
Woo!
you. How's everybody doing?
Man, I'm good.
We got the original four, the
Whoa,
Fantastic Four here. We got
we're
JD,
back.
SV, Doug, Nadia. So we got a good topic for you. What are we talking about today, guys?
Today we're talking about confidence.
Confidence? That's
You
right.
talking
That's right.
about
Say it
confidence?
confidently. Practice.
We talking about practice?
A few listeners will know that reference, but confidence. I think we are all confident individuals. We're willing to put ourselves out there, and we've had to have confidence, whether it be in school, outside of school, life. So hopefully, we can give you some tips to our listeners about being confident and things that we're working on ourselves. So let's get to it. Confidence. When I say confidence, I care. What comes to your head, Nadia?
Like being in control of like the room and your patients and the conversations. I think going in like, especially when you're a new grad, when you go in, you're kind of nervous, but if you fake it till you make it kind of, I think for me, it was hard to hear my last name so much at first, like, oh, hi, I'm Dr. Afghami. And you have to be confident when you say it, because otherwise when you go and you're like, hey, I'm, Dr. Nadia, Afghan, it's like you have to build up that like, hey, I own this room. I've been doing this forever. So if you go in and you're like the confident person and you're the one taking control, they like will listen to you better. They're like, oh, this girl kind of knows what she's talking about.
Absolutely. So have you seen the differences in reactions from patients when you say your name confidently, when you're speaking confidently versus not speaking confidently?
Yeah, it was awkward because at first I was like, the place I interned at, I was working there, so I was like, oh, hi, I'm Nadia. I'm Dr. Nadia. I'm Dr. Afghami. And then something about like the white coat on, because I wouldn't wear it very often, but at my new practice I wear it more. So like that just
Yeah.
like, you're like, oh, this is it. I'm in charge. Like you're basically in my chair. Like you're on my time. You're on my schedule. And so I think just going in with like this like face of like, hey, we're doing this, just fake it till you make it, basically, right? This is confident.
Yeah. But and not even faking. You are Dr. Afghami.
Right.
Like
yeah, I am.
You already made it.
I
Ain't
made
no,
it,
ain't no
guys.
fake
Yeah,
necessary.
thank you so
You're
much,
here.
Bless.
you made it till you made it.
But even when you like, even if I'm not sure about a treatment, I just pretend, right? Because it's called practice for a reason, right? You're practicing, but sometimes you think it's a canthamoeba and you're like, I don't know, and then you just throw on some moxie and it gets better. But you have to just educate the patient in a way where you're not like, oh, I'm gonna go check my Will's eye real quick. I'm just like, okay, yeah, this is what we're gonna do. This is the plan. If anything changes or if I get in touch with someone, I'll let you know. So if you like exude that confidence, I think it makes your patients more confident in you, in your personality. They trust you more. So I think it's like a big important factor in like presenting yourself, especially as like a doctor and a new grad, and just being a woman and being young. I think not being confident, being kind of like mousy, sometimes they'll like walk all over you because some of the patients, they think they can take advantage of you, but if you're confident, kind of wind them down a little bit.
Yeah. A couple things as someone who's also practicing here too on the pod. I agree with you when you're transparent and not uncomfortable about it. There's a huge amount of trust that's gained. So it's totally okay to say, hey, I actually don't know the answer, but I'm going to go speak to a specialist. I'm going to go look this up. You're confident in what you should know and what you shouldn't know, and you're not lying about it necessarily. In terms of practicing, yeah, I agree. It's not black and white. I've had ulcers where you put steroids on them. And, in theory, it doesn't make sense, but that's where consulting with specialists, doing research, talking about it, and even telling the patients, I'm not 100% sure, but this is what I believe is best today, and I'll see you tomorrow to make sure. So just being comfortable with who you are and what you believe is right, and even being transparent about that, I think that's really great with patient care.
Yo, JD, I want to go back to what you said. I mean, you're talking about transparency and being okay with letting the patient know you're not sure. When did you get confident in being able to do that? Did you always do that?
That's a good question. I would say starting off, no, because there's that lack of confidence and maybe there's a lack of transparency. So, there's been times where I go research something, for example, and before I'd be like, I'll be right back. Give me one moment. Now I am comfortable with saying, I don't know this. Give me one moment. I'm going to go look this up. I'm going to go speak with someone who may know about it. I have a retina specialist I can call right away and ask their advice. So I would say starting off, no, but I think that's where you learn over time. It's okay to say, hey, I don't know or I do know this. And that still doesn't shake your confidence, what you should be bringing to the table. There's going to be things that even specialists don't know, frankly. So I guess you just have to be. It takes time to know like what you should know and what you shouldn't know, and not feel bad about it.
I
Also
think that's
sorry, go
pretty
ahead.
cool, but just being a new grad, I would feel a little nervous or to use the word I don't know initially because they're like, so you graduated and you still don't know anything, huh? So yeah, that's an interesting
That's where
thing.
your
Like when you
attitude
guys get
comes into play, right? It's like how you
right,
address it and like
okay,
the way that you confidently say that you don't know. I was going back to this acanthamoeba patient, right? She came in. I had a patient Friday afternoon, just typical symptoms, contact lens wear. She was in the freshwater. She was having this like weird pain, dot of SPK. So immediately I was like, well, it's pretty high on my suspicion list, but I'm not confident that that's exactly what it is. I told her, you have all the symptoms. I'm going to treat you with what I can because I can't get the acanthamoeba drop. It's really hard to get, as I learned. This is just some things that you just learn as you experience things, right? And I'm like, this is what we're going to do in the meantime. Like, I want to get you comfortable. I'm going to give you moxifloxacin. I'm going to get you into the cornea specialist just to confirm because I'm just not sure. And I don't want it to be something that is going to ruin your vision. I don't want it to be something else. Like, I'd rather get you in just to get, a second opinion. But in the meantime, these are the steps that we're going to take, right?
awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I think she's hitting on saying you can confidently say I don't know, or you can confidently your body language carries some weight there. How deliberate you are carries some weight. Like there's a difference saying I don't know or I don't know this answer. However, I'm going to make sure I do everything to get you that answer.
Right.
Smile.
So wait, real quick.
Eye
I feel like
contact.
let's do a quick new segment we've never done before. So Svet, you should be the patient and tell JD, your doctor, about like whatever your symptoms are. And JD, display your confidence in you not knowing what to do, but like how you want to follow up with that.
I feel like I have a lot of pain in my eye, 10 out of 10 pain, and there's bleeding in my eye. So my eyes are red and they're bleeding, and it's a lot of pain.
Yeah. In this scenario, if I cannot discover the answer, I will do whatever I can to get you that answer, and I'll get you in the right place to get that answer. But since in this case I do not have the information to make that determination, give me some time to find that for you, or I may consult with my specialist who is a friend of mine, because I want to make sure I get you the best information possible, and me taking time to do that will give you the best care.
Beautiful.
So I mean, what I try doing is, frankly, I try spinning the situation. I'm doing you a favor by not me knowing it, me taking the time, and ultimately that's what we're trying to do: just get people the best patient care. And so I'd be doing you a disservice if I rush this, or if I say, it's okay, come back in 6 months. Like maybe Nadia can relate to this too, or maybe you guys can when you're in school. There's plenty of Nevises. You're like, what should I do here? Sometimes I text the specialist. Sometimes I'll, you know what? How about we check in 3 months? We'll take a photo if anything's changed, then we'll do something about it. You have to know what's urgent, what's not urgent. And so I think experience builds confidence. I think also reflection on what you bring to the table, what makes you you. Like for me, personal touch is very important, and being transparent. So like I do talk to patients pretty frankly, like, and honestly, like I don't know this answer, I do know this answer, but I'm gonna do whatever I can. I'm here to help you. So those are things I do. And anybody have any else thoughts on how does it feel SV as you're going through this process of school, maybe starting to see patients? How have you built confidence in that beginning period?
Yeah, I was actually thinking of a story just from lecture earlier this morning. So we talked about how, and my example right now, there's bleeding in my eye and there's a lot of pain. Like I was kind of thinking of like a subconjunctival heme. There's no pain in that. But like what I was thinking was we were learning about that in lecture today and how to confidently talk to your patients in the sense that you're addressing that, oh, it might be painful because there's like an emotional component to pain. So they think that subconjunctival heme hurts, and you have to be confident enough and knowledgeable, not knowledgeable, what's the word I'm looking for? it's like you're confident enough to be emotionally aware of like, hey, I'm not like, you can't go to a patient and just be like, hey, no, that kind of eye injury or that kind of bleed in your eye doesn't hurt. You know, like you can't talk to them like that. You have to be more confident about your diagnosis, know that it's a subconjunctival heme, and then be like, oh, you know, like I know this could be really painful. Maybe prescribe some artificial tears to make things better. Put artificial tears in the fridge. You'll feel really like relieved. But you'll say that in a confident way. I don't know, JD, if you want to like spin that on how you would say that to somebody who says that like a subconjunctival heme hurts, and how like confidently you'll say that.
So, what I do, something my therapist taught me, and I do use it with people, including patients. If someone says something you disagree with, you find something in what they say and you address the truth. Hey, I agree with you that sometimes that this redness does not look normal. That's totally understandable. And then you also say how you feel and what you think. And then I also say, hey, I feel that based on my experience with patients with this, there's usually no pain, no side effects, no issues. It's kind of like a bruise, it'll go away. So I try making people feel comfortable by affirming what they're saying to what I agree, but then also kind of giving my direct opinion. Because if you just agree with them and not say what's actually truth, you're not giving them what's appropriate for them.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do in that situation. But yeah, I think things we're noticing here, experience is like a big one to build some confidence here, and not being afraid. I think
Mhm.
you just kind of have to get in there and know what you don't know, and
And just
I think that's
just to
important.
add to that too, I feel like just thinking analytically about the question that you asked, I would just ask, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, like how much does it hurt? And usually in that instance, because it's a subcog heme, they're gonna say, well, I guess like if I'm really thinking about it, it's like a 2 or 3. So then you know it really doesn't hurt that much, and it's kind of just like they're reacting based on emotions, like you said. But you always do want to be empathetic to people's feelings and what they're saying, especially these days where people are pretty sensitive and a lot of things, and what you say means a lot.
Yeah, I mean, pain's mental. So if they're like, "Ah, it hurts so much, this is the worst," I just am like, yeah, I get it. Throw on some artificial tears. It should feel better. Put it in the fridge. Put some cool compress on it. Tomorrow you'll be brand new, right? And that way you're psychologically like, oh, if I do these steps, it's going to feel better. So already in their head, they're like, oh, there's a treatment for this kind of thing. And so,
And if you just put a drop in, then like, look,
yeah,
it
like,
feels better,
look,
huh?
yeah. Like I had this like 90-year-old lady. She's like, I think there's an eyelash. It feels like, last time they plucked it and I could just feel it. Just feel it. And I looked and there was nothing. And I was like, okay, no problem. Let me just pull one out. Right. So I like literally just like pull like the closest one to her lash line just to like do something. And then she's like, oh my God, that feels so much better. And you're like, okay, great. See ya whenever. But so
What about when the hard times come? So let's say there's something that doesn't make you feel confident. How do you think you can get back on the ropes to make yourself feel confident? Whether it be taking a test, seeing a patient, asking for a raise, whatever it may be. Like, is there anything you all do to make yourself get back on the road and be like, hey, come on, let's be confident again?
So I think I'll go first here. I feel like it's best to like just go back in the lab, and repetition and knowledge helps confidence. So going back and reviewing, whatever case you had that day, if you were struggled on it, you didn't know the treatment or management, looking at Will's eye, looking at your notes, your class notes, things like that, just rereading about the things that you want to reassure yourself on to make sure I think that, you know, along with repetition, will help you to gain your confidence back.
yeah, I think asking for help too. Like I'm lucky that I have a group practice. So I have Dr. Shakya and so she's been out a year longer than me and she did like a residency, or if no one is around, I'll call Libna, I'll be like, hey, can you just look at this OCT really quick just to confirm like you agree with what I'm saying, right? Um, and I think like just asking like, hey, do you like, I have a really good relationship with the cornea specialist actually in our town. And so when I send people to him, it's really nice to get the feedback because then I'm like, you know what? I was really scared about that corneal ulcer, but he just was watching the treatment that I already gave. So technically I could have just been seeing that patient and they would have just probably maybe paid less or just been there with someone they were familiar with. And so getting the feedback where he's like, yeah, I just kept him on the Moxie and then they went away. Visions like went from light perception to 2025. You're like, wow, that was my treatment. And so that makes you more confident, right? When you're getting the feedback and you see your patients back and you see your treatments working. And so confidence just doesn't come overnight, right? You have to like build on it from like all the experiences that you have. You can't just go in and be like, yeah, I think this drop will work. I'm pretty confident. And then they come back and it doesn't work. Because what are you going to, what are you going to say then? It's like, then you got to be like, oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't know. So just like learning from your mistakes and learning from what, has worked in the past and asking like, hey, what second opinions? What do you think? Or like, what should I do? Or I was like, take a minute in the room if I don't know, like, oh, you know what? Let me go check and see what drops the pharmacy has so I can so I can prescribe them. And I'll go run to my Willseye. Like, it's not a problem to like look things up, right? And then that way you're like, okay, here's the plan. This is what we're going to do. And then when you go back in, you're like, okay, this is what I think, this is the drop we're going to give, even if you don't know something, right? Just kind of take a minute.
Yeah, two things you both highlighted there: having a good network to get information from, but also having a constant ability to want to learn. So even if you don't know the answer right away, if you find out now, you learn from it, you're going to have these moments over and over, especially as primary care optometrists. If you're in medical, situations arise if you're in the same office, and no matter what environment you're with, it's like most likely 99% of the time you're going to see something that will reoccur. And so build upon it. Don't look backwards, look forwards. I think those are great thoughts from both of you there.
Yeah, I have a lot of scleral patients. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I have a lot of scleral patients where I have never done sclerals before. And then I'm like, okay, well, let's tweak it. And then I'll spend the whole night thinking, like looking things up and being like, well, how should I change this? And then they come back in and it fits great. And that builds your confidence, right? Because you did something right. Sorry, go ahead, Steph.
I was just going to say that I think my examples for confidence are definitely school related. Like the one example that I wanted to share was over the summer. I was in like a more medical clinic, so it was like a lot of disease and getting familiar with disease. And now I'm in like a primary care where we do a lot of contacts, and I haven't touched contacts all of summer. So it's just like a little bit of background. I didn't know the difference between like a contact refit and a contact eval exam, and that's just because I haven't done contacts, learned it in lecture, forgot about it the whole summer, right? So there's also like order forms for contacts, printing out the contact lens prescription. And when I was checking in with my attending, it was kind of the vibe was you should know how to print out the order. You should know the differences between this and this and this. So to build confidence, what I did, because I didn't feel like I could directly ask the attending at that time, hey, can you show me this? I found confidence in reaching out for help, like what we were talking about earlier, reaching out for help with my classmates. There's some classmates that already did contacts over the whole summer. So I was like, okay, what's the eval? What's the refit? What's this? Like, what form are you guys filling out? I had a classmate go over that with me so I can be familiar with it. Then afterwards, I went to the front desk staff and I had them remind me how to print out all like the contact lens prescription and the order forms. And that's the way I build my confidence. So then with all of that data collected from my classmates and the front desk, got it all together, gave it to the attending. And I was like, okay, here we go. You can sign it now. And they're like, okay, great. Sign it off, walked away. And like, I wouldn't have that confidence if I didn't ask for help. So I think like in that situation at first, when they told me, oh, like, you should know how to do this, or, well, they didn't directly say that, but that was the vibe. Like, you should know how to do this. If I just kind of sat there and like, I don't know, let myself like feel bad that I didn't know how to do this instead of reaching out for help right away, I think my confidence would have gone super down, because then I would have been late. My next patient would have came in. I would have still been struggling, just sitting there staring at the computer, not knowing like what to click on. So I think even having confidence just keeps you going throughout the day.
Yeah, you did a good job of applying some of the concepts that Nadia and Doug were saying. Utilizing the network that you have around you, asking questions, wanting to learn, and we appreciate that story from your perspective too. Is there anything in your guys' personal life that maybe will add to your confidence? Maybe listen to Jonas Brothers, or going out to downtown San Francisco and getting some good views, or shooting some basketball, some hoops, anything in your personal life you think that gives you confidence, that makes you confident in clinic or school, things like that?
The way you talk to yourself at home. I think it's a big one, because if you're negative to yourself and talk to yourself in a bad way, there's no way that you're gonna go out there in the world and
Now,
think that you're confident.
explain talk to yourself. Yeah,
So
I
you
don't know
do
if a lot of people do
affirmations?
that, but how do you do that with yourself?
And by yourself, do you mean your
In the
dog, or do you mean
mirror,
you,
in the
or both?
shower.
No, well, look, yeah. No. Get in
Go
depth.
in depth with
Take
it.
it where you want to.
I,
What kind of shampoo are you using when you're talking to yourself?
Your hair looks good,
She's
though.
like, yes, my hair does look good. My hair looks good. My hair looks good.
I told myself this morning, my hair looks good, and now JD said it, But
And Marty
anyways,
agreed. Marty was like, "Yeah, you have gray hair today."
Marty's her dog, if anybody did not know.
but she's knocked out. She just got vaccines today. She's out. If she heard you guys earlier, she would have started like jumping around. But no, I think it's like when I put on my scrubs, it's like, oh, I'm gonna have a great day today. Like my scrubs are clean, they're ironed, they look good, I feel good, I'm gonna have a great day. Or it's like, oh, I did my hair. My hair is curly today, I love my hair today, I'm gonna have a good day because like I feel good about myself. Or like when you, I don't know, if you haven't been to the gym in a while, then you start like to pick at your body. So then it's like, okay, well, I haven't been to the gym, I'm fat, da 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 da. But it's like you're not giving yourself any motivation to actually get into the gym. Like instead be like, oh, maybe I don't like how I look right now because I've looked better before, but you know what? I'm gonna go to the gym tomorrow or the next day. Like it the way you talk to yourself is really important. You guys talk
Do
to
you
yourself?
actually say this out loud, or do you
I
write it down? How do you actually do it?
I'd say it
That's
out
pretty
loud.
cool. Adding to what you said,
Yeah. Nice.
I was going to say that for me, I think one thing that's important is kind of just like making yourself feel good through like how you dress and like just how you present yourself. So when I get dressed up and I look good, I'm like, all right, cool, I'm fresh, I'm ready to go. Like I'm ready to battle this, whatever I have to take care of. And that helps give confidence in other aspects because I feel like I know I look good, so I can go out there and do whatever I need to do confidently because, I have confidence in myself and how I look.
Yeah, don't underestimate the power of a good hair day. Forget it. Good hair day? That's the best day to be in my patient. I'm so happy. Hey, how's your weekend?
I almost wanted to reschedule this
Oh,
podcast
so
because I'm getting a haircut tomorrow. Like, I'm like, dang, I look crusty right now, but it's okay. Like, let me just make it work. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
That's
So,
me.
I think
think
what we're all
we're-
getting at is that like confidence is more mental than it is something that you
It is.
possess, right? So, just feeling like you're enough, I think that's like a big key. I think a lot of people feel like they're not enough. Sometimes when we're in school, we have exams, and I would mentally get to the point where I was like, even though I studied enough, I just didn't feel like I knew enough. And going into the exam, you kind of set yourself up to do bad in a sense, because you're like, even though you had all the tools, and I mean, you can study all you want, you can ask for help all you want, but at the end of the day, if you're not like, okay, you know what, I grew from that, and now I have the confidence that I need to approach this case or this patient or this exam, at the end of the day, it's not going to matter how much fake it till you make it you got, because you're not telling yourself that everything that you've done for yourself is enough, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That was a great point, SV, which has helped us all kind of relate. And I think the main overlying theme is like affirmations. If I have to think about it too, relate to also like I was having trouble with some of my technicians. They weren't listening to me, and I felt like I wasn't being deliberate in what I was saying. And so there's been some mornings where I would tell myself, I'm going to be deliberate. I'm going to say what I believe, and I'm going to be direct. And that's actually helped me too. So I think the point of what you're saying is affirmations to each other. It becomes in our mind. Think about something that makes you happy. Our mindset is huge. It's controlling. So great thoughts here.
Yeah. I think acting like you care, right, is like one of the most important things. Like if you can show that you care about someone, it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, right? It's like, hey, I just want to do what's best for you. Or like hey, like I really care about my charts looking good. Can you help me like make them better? And that way you're not making anyone feel like you're putting them down, because confidence you can have overconfidence sometimes. Like what if you're like
Hmm.
being condescending at that point? If you're overly confident and if you're talking down to people, or if you're talking down to your patients, they're going to be like, wow, this person's arrogant. So it's kind of like a thin line between confidence and arrogance at that point, right? Because I don't want to be like pushing anyone around. I never talk to my techs like they're not like my teammates. I never want to be like super like, hey, I'm in charge. I just want to be like, hey, we're doing this together. The more that you help me, the more that
And
everything
that
runs
goes back
smoothly,
to
kind of
the
thing,
to
right?
the ethos we
That's
mentioned
a
earlier, just
yeah.
being paying attention to people emotionally, and just being emotionally aware, just because you have to be confident, but you also have to be aware of how you're portraying that, and making sure you're not overdoing it. So I definitely agree with that, Nadia.
What
I
about like,
agree.
that there's like people who are kind of shy, but how do they exude confidence? Like, what's your advice to those people, right? Because we are very lucky. We have outgoing personalities. So it's easy for us in this pod to be like, yeah, I feel confident, but what is it that changed you from like the shy kid to like the confident kid, right? So what's everyone's advice for
So
that?
I mean, I'll say, for me, I actually used to be a shy person. I still am at times. And I realized in college, I mean, simply put, I think we mentioned this in the other pod we did like a long time ago, but I feel like shy guys finish last. Like I really like felt that, and I didn't want to keep portraying that, especially being in a new environment in college. So I realized I needed to be more outgoing and more out there, and not be so timid and like wanting to do things, or say things that I wanted to say, and just like let it go. So I think just being aware of that, and mentally remembering like, like if you're shy, like it's the same thing as like closed mouths don't get fed. So you have to like say what you want, or say what you like, say your opinions, and be a little bit outspoken sometimes, even though you might be shy, or feel like people might critique you in a wrong way about what you're saying. And I think with that mentality change, it's been really pretty good for me, just because, you're able to exude more confidence that way.
Confidence equals
Liked,
bravery.
yeah. And I really liked what Doug just mentioned, because I think the first step is having that mindset shift. And then the second step, I think, would be putting yourself out there. And I just say that because I remember my senior year of high school, that's when I got like my first job, and I was doing like the Disney princess job, where I'd do birthday parties, dress up, and then like be the center of attention at a birthday party. And although I did have like confidence growing up, I think that confidence has really grown in that job, because I literally would show up and have like everyone's just paying attention to me because I'm dressed as like Moana or something, and then I have to go sing and dance as Moana, right? And it would be a very uncomfortable or uncomfortable job if you're not used to like all that center of attention, don't have that kind of confidence. But over time, you kind of like adapt to putting yourself out there in extreme um, situations or circumstances. So I would say that of course you're not going to dress up and like go to a birthday party, but if you're going to put yourself out there like at a social event, at a networking event that maybe you wouldn't necessarily go to, or if your school is having some kind of like outing, you should go, and you should go and just try to talk to people, have a little goal of like, okay, I'm going to go talk to like two different people. That's something just to start building that confidence, because I think there's once you know how to like start small talk and make small talk go to like a more deeper talk, you'll feel better, because you'll be like, oh, I kind of know how to gauge this conversation. You just like build your confidence into talking with other people. And I would say another point, don't be scared of silence. Sometimes in a conversation people just stop talking, and like that's okay. Like it that doesn't say anything about you. It doesn't say anything about the conversation being boring. People just get tired of talking, and like it's okay if there's like
It
30
doesn't have to
seconds of
be
you
awkward,
talking.
right? Like
Yeah.
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 I think bravery. I think putting yourself out there, right? I switched high schools junior year. I didn't know a single person. Imagine that was like terrible. And what did I have to do? Like, I wasn't going to make friends if I sat around and got quiet. Closed mouths don't get fed, right? So I would just talk to people. I would just, start conversations, and I would try to be funny. And like, I think that I read this article before about how sometimes women aren't funny, like they're not comedians because we aren't as brave as men, because sometimes men just say a joke and it doesn't work and they're like, oh, well, I'll move on. But women, if something doesn't work, they're kind of like take it hard on themselves, right? But you just have to kind of like do your thing and be like, know who you are, and just like you said, put yourself out there, just be brave, and kind of the confidence will like grow from there, I think. JD, anything to wrap up?
Yeah, I would say for I understand where the closed mouth analogy. I feel like you're kind of hitting on like being authentic to who you are. Like if someone doesn't talk a lot, but they still, when they make a comment, like maybe it has more weight because they don't talk a lot. But like if that's who you are, be who you are. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to be uncomfortable. And Nadia was kind of saying there at the end. Don't worry about making mistakes, right? Like mistakes are going to happen, but that doesn't mean it should hurt your confidence. If anything, you should be hurt if you don't try to make mistakes. And so if I had to give a wrap up today, I've been taking notes secretly here. I think the first thing we talk about to build confidence is experience, which will happen over time. And also being transparent with who you are, what you believe is the right thing when you're treating patients or working, having a good network to rely on, to learn from, having an ability to be open to learning, also kind of asking for help. And we're kind of referring to that with people in our profession or even, in our community, affirming ourselves, telling ourselves we can do it, building that psychology that we can be better, and getting to get over making mistakes, being uncomfortable, and finally being authentic and putting yourself out there, like Doug was kind of mentioning and SV were mentioning with Moana. So I think we had a really great talk about being confident. I think there's some good nuggets here. If you want to do a Moana play, that might help you out.
Disney
So
princess.
be
Okay.
uncomfortable and let us. What princess would you be and why? Real quick. Who's your favorite princess?
Who are you asking?
Look, go ahead. Anybody. Disney princess.
Yo, my
Doug
favorite.
Alex
I
Cinderella.
think my favorite is Jasmine.
confident.
She's bad.
Yeah. The Kim Kardashian of Disney
She's
princesses.
bad.
Oh my god.
What about you, Nadia? Cindy.
Me, I like
was
Cindy,
who?
Cinderella.
Okay.
I don't know why. She's my if Disney had like gods, then she would be the one I'd pray to, because she always brings me a lot of luck. Like every time I don't know, just like she's the
Like,
one.
where are my glass
so she's
shoes?
my girl. She's my like saint.
Aw.
She's like my Disney saint. So it's like anytime like Cinderella, help me, she
Not,
like comes through,
what
bro.
about you, SV? Oh,
I always loved
Mulan.
Mulan. I always thought she was
She's a
like
G.
that one princess that, yeah, I was like, I want to be
What
like
about
her.
you,
That's my
JD?
princess.
Just to pick a
lot.
different
There's
one. Who
so
else is
many.
left?
You got Snow White. You got Pocahontas.
Yeah.
Don't be shy. It's fine. You can have
You
the same
got
one as
Beauty and
someone
the
else.
Beast.
Pocahontas, yeah.
No wrong
You got
answers.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say
yeah.
Mulan too, because she fucks up, but she's like trying. She has good intentions. Never quit attitude. Not afraid to be
Let's
uncomfortable.
get
Cut her hair to
down
be a
to
guy.
business.
That
Yo,
was
that's
gonna be
one
my
of the
answer.
best songs. That's one of the
Whoa,
best
whoa, can't get
songs.
copyrighted.
I love that song.
So hot. Oh.
So we'll leave it
No
on that note.
copyright.
Let's get down to business. Be confident. Let us know if you have any questions. Thanks for listening to the pod, and until next time,
Eerie.
hear, as you all say.